I'm here interviewing Kevin Anderson. Kevin, tell me a little bit about your company.
Sure. My company's name is ROI Appointments. And basically what we do is we do lead generation and set up in-home appointments for solar companies. So we qualify homeowners, find that they're interested in meeting with a representative to learn more about solar and see if it could benefit them. And then if they meet the proper criteria for that company's campaign, we'll put it onto their schedule for one of their sales reps to meet with them. And that's basically what we do in a nutshell.
Awesome. So what would you say your opportunity space is?
The opportunity space is probably one of the best things about it is it's just a massive opportunity because residential solar is one of the fastest growing industries in the US right now. And one of the biggest problems that those solar companies face is being able to acquire customers. So they're constantly looking for leads. So basically any company that sells solar to homeowners would be looking for someone with a service like mine. So it's a pretty good field for lead generation.
Nice. What is your value in use?
So value in use kind of goes back to that is we're basically filling a desperate need that the companies have, which is to be able to acquire salespeople. So we give them sales opportunities. And my value of use increases depending on which service I give them. We have two different kinds of services. We can do a pay by lead, where they pay me a set amount for every appointment that I give them, or we can do a pay by sell basis. And when we do that, my value of use infinitely goes up for the companies because then they can use my service with no worries. They know that they have no money on the line. I'm footing the bill for their campaign, and they only have to pay when they actually earn money. And so it definitely brings a lot to the table and increases my value to them.
Okay. And in your value of exchange?
So value of exchange, it depends on which of those methods that I mentioned. If we're doing a pay by lead basis, I have smaller margins when it comes down to it, but I have less risk. But overall, financially, it doesn't bring as much to me. Now, when I'm doing a pay by sell, I can charge a very premium level for the service that we do because I take all of the risks. Because maybe their salespeople, it takes a little bit longer for them to get the sell, or it takes more appointments to get the sell, but I do charge them a lot higher price point for that. And so it does give me a lot higher value. As long as I'm comfortable and have a good relation with that company, it's typically going to bring a lot more to me.
Okay, so when you take the higher risk, then you also get paid more. So if they don't get the sell, or if you don't get the sell, then you don't get paid for what you do. But when you do get the sell, you get a higher percentage of that sell.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
And then for your distribution, I'm guessing you stayed pretty local, or how does that work?
Actually not. Most of my business I do is actually over on the East Coast.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, I'm operating here in Idaho. And solar's just not as big in Idaho. It's starting to grow, but we don't charge nearly as much for our electric rates. So other areas in the country make a lot more sense. And so people are looking to do a lot more business in those companies because it's easier sales for them. And if it's easier sales for them, then it makes it to where mine's a higher value. So most of what I do is on the East Coast. We do some in California. I try to stay out of that area because it's oversaturated.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of competition there. But that is the thing, is there's lots of opportunities. You can be in lots of different markets. Basically anywhere in the US you can do, as long as you're willing to open up another market, put some money into data and vendors. you can do that. But I kind of stick to my core that I know deliver for me.
Hmm. Yeah, though, like even here, like at in our house, we have solar panels here, but like during the winter, they're pretty much useless because of all the snow. Like, is that a major factor for up there in Idaho as well? Is just people don't want it because there's certain months where you just don't get anything from it.
That factors in a little bit, but I would say the biggest thing is just the electric rate. So, Utah, you have a little bit higher electric rate than we do, not by much, but a little bit. But the big thing is the companies over there, the utility companies, they have a tier program where the more usage that you use, they charge you more, significantly more than what they do in Idaho. So if you use a decent amount of electricity in Utah, you're actually solar is going to be a much better investment for you. You're going to get a lot more return on that investment than you would in Idaho.
Hmm. Okay, that makes sense. So how's your value of finance?
Yeah, so value of finance, things do kind of go back and forth a little bit based off of production because sometimes we have different months, as you mentioned, the snow, the winter time. So when we're talking dead of winter or holiday season, people don't think about solar, right? Because when the sun's out there shining, they think, wow, I can sell. I could really use some panels to collect the sunlight. But in the wintertime, you do see a little bit of a dip in sales. Christmas, Thanksgiving time, people are spending a lot of money. They're getting ready for Christmas. They just don't want to invest during that time. So you have dips that come along. But overall, we do pretty good. I try to do about a 40% margin on my pay per lead, and I'm at 122% margin on my pay per sell basis. And so that kind of helps me out. But on that one, like I said, there is more risk involved, and you do have to factor in cancellations, right? Because they only pay me when they make money. So you do have about a 10 to 15% cancellation of people that back out for one reason or another, right? Maybe it's buyer's remorse or another company pitched them a better deal. So you do have to factor in about a 10 to 15% cancellation rate, into that 122% margin.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So how do you feel like the value of fitness is for what you're doing?
Yeah, I think it's very good. So it's, as I mentioned, there's lots of different markets, lots of opportunity, right? There's a lot of growth going on in the industry, a lot of companies looking for leads when it comes down to it. And then being able to basically open up a market from anywhere, it does give you a lot of variability, a lot of diversification that you can do and get into different markets. You'll also see that some markets become hot and they go really quick, but it's basically incentivized by the government rebates. So if a new state has some new legislature that comes in where, hey, we're going to incentivize renewable energy, all of a sudden that's a really hot market for solar and a market that I want to get into. And so you reach out to companies and they're definitely looking to have people help them acquire customers. So yeah, I would say that there's a really strong fitness value for solar lead generation.
Hmm. So one thing that you did kind of say was you talked about like a residential and a company, I guess. Do you do more residentials or do you do more for like companies?
Yeah,
Or
that's a great question. So I focus purely on the residential side of things. The commercial is a whole different ball field. You're talking a lot longer time to get sales. It's a
Mhm.
lot harder for you to actually get a hold of decision makers, right? Whereas the homeowner, they're pretty easy to be able to get in touch with. But a decision maker of a company, they have a lot of security checks in place, right? You got to talk to the secretary, you got to go talk to the sales department head. Like you have to talk to 5 people, work your way up the ladder before you even get to a decision maker.
Mhm.
So it's a lot harder process. Yes, it's a lot bigger sell. But for me personally, I just decided it was a lot easier to work with home residents than with companies.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, So tell me a little bit about your governance.
Yeah, so our main resources are going to be our employees and then the leads that they're calling, right? Those are our two things that determine whether we make money, right? So we want our employees to be productive. And so we do have some goals that we put in place for them. We do monitor some of the key metrics so that we can go over them. Basically, we'll review call times. We'll review how much time they're spending throughout the day on the phones, making sure that they're keeping busy at work, working to generate new business. And then we also want to make sure that the quality is good, right? For a couple of reasons. So the quality is very important to make sure that our customers, right, the solar companies are happy with what we're giving them and that they stay as clients for us. But also so that we can get sales from them. And we also want to make sure that when we have leads that our guys are calling, that they're handling them correctly so that we're not spending more money than we need to on leads to obtain an appointment, right? So quality is kind of the big thing that we focus on, making sure that they're handled correctly. So for example, we get a fresh lead that comes in, then it's policy that they're called 2 times within the first 5 minutes. If they don't answer the first time, they're called 5 minutes later, because there's a lot better chance of you getting a hold of them within that first 5 minutes. After that, the chance of you getting in touch with that person starts to drop off drastically. And if it's been a couple days, it becomes even harder. So that's one of the things that we put in place just to give us the best chance of success, to be able to optimize on how our kind of lead to appointment ratio, which really affects our bottom line.
Okay. So out of these values, which one would you say is your strongest value?
I think the thing that sets us apart from the competition is our value of use. Like I was telling you, we have an option where people can do a pay by sell basis, right? Which there's not that many people that do that because there is risk involved, right? There's a lot of overhead that we have to carry that campaign, but it lets our customers, our clients, the solar companies know that, hey, we have complete trust in our product. Because a huge issue with lead generation, you can basically ask anybody that's in the field, huge issue is going to be quality. You'll get a lot of people giving you appointments, but they're not qualified appointments. And by us putting our own money on the line, it lets them know that, hey, we focus on quality for you. And so that really does set us apart, and it appeals to a lot of companies.
That makes sense. What would you say your weakest value is?
I would say it would probably be distribution when it comes down to it. We could be available more often. I've kind of set my company based on how I would want it if I was an employee. So as an employee, I don't want to work late hours, right? I want to be able to be with my family. I don't want to work weekends. So that's what I've done with my company, is that my employees that I bring on, they know that, hey, this is going to be a standard Monday through Friday, no late hour jobs, no weekends. We have paid holidays for them, which is great for the employee. But for my clients, if we were working more hours, we did work weekends, we could easily probably do 25 to 30, I'd say 35% more production than what we do. I've just decided I don't want to have a lot of turnover, a lot of attrition. My employees are happy based on how we treat them, and I feel good about it. So I've done it that way. But that's definitely an area that if we wanted to really monetize our profits, we could do that.
So what have you done to more or less strengthen it? Because I know you don't want to change it because you were trying to keep your employees happy, but what have you done to maximize the profits, I guess, from the loss that since you don't have it open during those times, what have you done to make up for those losses, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So a lot of that comes down to our employees. So we've kind of maximized by having employees that are knowledgeable. I only hire people that have previous solar experience and phones. And so that way we get good results from them. They're able to do more than the typical new hire that you have on. And so we just kind of maximize our production with them, and we focus on personal goals and production values from those employees. And we put bonuses in place to where they can make a little bit more based off of what they produce. So they're definitely heavily incentivized to perform well. And our production has been really good on a per employee basis.
Okay, so it sounds like knowledge and incentives are the takeaway that I'm taking from that. That's how you kind of bridge the gap.
Yeah, knowledge, incentives, and then I would say low attrition, low turnover, right? Because if you're constantly having to bring new people on, you're losing out on production when it comes down to that. So we're able to keep that way down. Average call center is going to be having a very high turnover. Mm-hmm. And my employees, a lot of times they'll stay with me until they graduate college, right? Once they get on, they find it, hey, this is great for while I'm going to school. And they'll stay with me basically until they graduate.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thanks for the interview. It was good chatting with you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.